from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Good morning and welcome here to, I was going to say Wakem here, because welcome and Wakem are together. Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here where you're listening on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. You're also listening on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com because the MixLR feed is embedded there for you. And you are watching on Facebook Live on facebook.com/live-now-DT. We're inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios, 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. And you know that Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory brings you what's poppin' every single broadcast, and what that is the list of topics on the day. So Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory bringing you at least 50 different flavors inside of their location on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Also brings you what's on the list for the day in each of these broadcasts of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The first one this morning in the first hour of the show is Sam Rodgers. Sam Rodgers played long snapper for Syracuse, a job that goes unnoticed and should never go unnoticed. One of those jobs that if you do it right, nobody says anything. It's when it's wrong, and not a lot of people said much of anything about when Sam Rodgers had done something wrong out there. So we give him a lot of credit for the work that he's done, because it was one of those thankless jobs that we're going to thank him for. Because if you're a good long snapper, you don't hear about it. It's kind of like being a good ref. If you're a good official, you don't hear, people don't know your name that well. It's when you're a bad official that they know you're coming into the dome. So Sam Rodgers, we'll talk with him in just a second here. He's joining us, a former Syracuse player. He's running for New York Senate. I'm very excited about that and excited about the opportunity to speak with him about that and about our community. And then in the second hour of the show at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll be joined by Todd Philcox, former quarterback of the Syracuse Orange, who lives down in Jacksonville, has a business down there. So we're going to talk about the Jaguars and Syracuse. And then we'll get to the top dog segment that we missed this past Friday. We're going to do that for you today, announcing our top dog of the last week, and was pretty easy choice for me. So that's proudly brought to you by Kamp Dog Daycare and Kampground. So with that being said, it is my honor and my privilege to welcome him here to the broadcast, and that is Mr. Sam Rodgers, former Syracuse player and current person on the ballot here for New York Senate that we're hoping to see, hopefully some great things come from here in the near future. So with that being said, Sam, how you doing today?
Hi, Dan. I'm doing great. Good morning, and thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to chat with you over the next couple minutes about Syracuse football and also a little bit about what I've been up to lately. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Sam, for you, you heard me say it in the intro, if you're a good long snapper, then people don't hear about it, you don't hear about it, so to speak. Just what you can say about that if you do your job right, nobody's really talking about it, and that's something. We talk about offensive linemen in that case too, that people don't tend to know the offensive linemen's names unless they're giving up sacks and whatnot. So just what you can say about that, being in a job that at Syracuse, you did so many things right that we didn't hear a lot of Sam Rodgers when you were out there.
Right, yeah, long snapping is a thankless job. You don't get into it for the lights or any praise, so to speak. Your praise is kind of silence, and that's kind of how you have to set your mindset. And that's what I tried to do over 4 years. Is if you can go kind of under the radar and lift up the punters and the kickers and the other special teams units, you're really doing your good job. So that's kind of the mindset I had to bring to football, and I think it's carried over into other aspects of what I do. Is long snapping, it's all about lifting up the people around you, and it's amazing what you can do if you don't care who gets the credit, and that's really what you have to think about when you're snapping. And but with that, you're still, you're still on the Division I football team and having a great time competing with your teammates, and there's a lot of awesome things that go into it as well.
And Sam, what can you say about your time at Syracuse? I mean, to specifically look back at your history and, the coaching staff that you had and the people that you had around you, just what you could say about your experience at Syracuse.
Yeah, I had a great experience at Syracuse, first and foremost. It really molded me into who I am now, and was just an amazing 4 years of my life that I spent playing for Syracuse and going to classes up on the hill. I actually had a very unique experience also. I experienced a lot of different parts of the history of Syracuse football in terms of I played 2 years for Coach Doug Marrone. I was recruited by his staff. And then I played 2 years for Scott Shafer. So with a different staff, different coaches. And then I also played 2 years in the Big East and 2 years in the ACC. So I got to travel to a lot of different venues and play in a lot of different atmospheres, and just experienced a whole lot of variety during my college career, which was really cool. I really enjoyed playing in different stadiums. I never played, there's not a lot of stadiums, away stadiums, that I played in more than once. So I got to just see a lot during my college career, and it was really cool how things worked out.
And for you to go back to those playing days, speaking here with Sam Rodgers of Syracuse football history, to have two different coaches, just what your takeaways were from that experience, because, you found out, like a lot of players at Syracuse found out, that it is a business, and, coaches come and go and whatnot, just what that was like, being on a team and being recruited by somebody and then seeing that person leave and then having to, adjust. And obviously Shafer was on the staff already, but just what that experience was like to have to go through a coaching change and to see how quickly you could kind of wake up in the morning and things aren't what you thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I think it starts off with, while I was being recruited and kind of going through that process, a lot of feedback and advice that I got was choose based on the school, not the coaching staff, because people understand that coaches do move around a lot. And, I was thankful that I chose Syracuse University, and, that was kind of first and foremost. And then I was playing on the football team as well. So when the coaching change happened, I was still very happy that I was at Syracuse. And it was a little kind of up in the air, because Coach Marrone actually has a special teams background in terms of, he did some field goal snapping when he was kind of bouncing around the NFL. And that meant a lot to me, that the head coach kind of had this special teams background, and he knows what's kind of going on with the specialists and the snappers and the kickers. And, the fact that he was going to scholarship a snapper and a punter kind of right out of high school just spoke to the fact that he cared a lot about special teams. So when he decided to move on, you kind of wonder, well, who's the coach they're going to bring in? Is he going to care as much about special teams as Coach Marrone did? And what's that going to mean for me and for, the other kickers and that? So that's kind of immediately what went through my head. And then obviously as the athletic department went through it and hired Scott Shafer, that was a big relief, because Coach Shafer, was on Coach Marrone's staff as the defensive coordinator, and I got to know him really well just those first 2 years, and it was kind of an extremely comfortable transition with Coach Shafer, and he's he cares a lot about the special teams, and we just had a great relationship from beforehand, which really carried over to when he was a head coach as well.
That coming this morning from Sam Rodgers, former Syracuse player running for New York Senate here in our community. Sam, when Doug eventually left, what was that experience like? Because the thing is, only the people that really went through it can speak on it fully. Did he address you guys? Did he talk with you? Did he sit with you? Was it a simple text message? Was it you woke up and saw it on ESPN? I mean, every player goes through a different experience. What was the experience?
So we got a team kind of message that, Coach Marrone was given this opportunity that he's going to take in Buffalo. It was sometime after the Pinstripe bowl game. And it was, some people, I think the team, to be honest, I don't really remember, because we were on vacation at the time, so we weren't really together as a team.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity for him, and I can't hold that against him at all for seeking that opportunity. And then when we got back from break, we had a team meeting where he was there and addressed the team. And then that was kind of that. And I think, when you go through your career, there's a lot of different decisions that you make. And I think, Coach Marrone made the best decision for him and his family. And I don't see it that surprising, to be honest. I think it was, a good decision for him. And it's interesting to think about, the beginning of that year, we started off 2-4. And,
yeah,
everyone was all, maybe he might get fired at the end of this year. And then, of course, he did a great job keeping that team together and keeping us moving in the right direction. And we were a very talented team that year. And then, with his guidance and the coaching staff and our senior leaders on that team, we really put together something special that, at the end of the year, everyone was very happy with the performance. And that was a great year. 2012 was, on the field, probably one of the most fun years of my career.
And for you to have that, and for you to have that meeting, that he had that conversation, that you guys kind of got tipped off that something was going to happen, but, that he sat down with you. I know, at least from the outside looking in, he had been a man of so few words, and even at Jacksonville, you don't see too many words come out. Was it quick and painless? Was it kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid when he did eventually sit down with you?
To be honest, I'm trying to remember the concrete details, and I don't remember specifically. I do know we knew at the time that he had taken the job. So I think it was kind of more of a, he wanted to thank us and just talk to us. And I think everyone was pretty happy for him at that point. And you're right. He is a man of few words. And a funny story I have is, my freshman and sophomore year when I was the snapper and the specialists kind of during the week, we're kind of on our own doing our own drills while the rest of the team's practicing. And Coach Marrone decided that he wanted to have a weekly meeting with me on Friday and just learn what are the specialists doing during the week, or, are they practicing, or, are they just goofing around? So I, as this young kid, had to go meet with Coach Marrone, who, as you said, he's a pretty a man of few words, and I was always so intimidated going into his office every Friday morning for this talk. And then eventually he started meeting with us as a group, and he'd have us go around the table and tell him, well, what did you get better this week? And he would just sit there, and he'd just let you talk and keep talking and keep talking. And and finally I told the guys, I was like, guys, just think of one small thing that you worked on this week. Just say it and stop talking. Because he would just wait for you to until you're talking yourself in circles. And it was just a funny time for the specialists to be around the conference table with Coach Marrone. Just, what did you do this week to get better?
Yeah. And then you moved on to Scott Shafer at Syracuse and went into that era. And I got to spend a lot of time with Scott and really built what I consider to be a good relationship with him, with his family, and to really just, get around the person that he is and get to know him so much more than just being a football coach. What did you take away from Scott? Because at least to me, he recruited very well. His staff, I'm close with his staff to this day, that, is all over the place now. What did you take away from Scott?
Coach Shafer is just an amazing man, to be honest. He, the one thing I love about Coach Shafer is when Coach Marrone was the head coach and Shafer was the D coordinator, and again, I'm a freshman, sophomore on the team, still a young guy, kind of figuring out this whole college football thing. I can very vividly remember, walking through the building or walking onto the bus, and Coach Shafer, hey, Sammy, how you doing?
Yeah.
But he actually asked and actually cared, no, how are you doing? It wasn't just in passing, hey, how you doing? But how are things going? Are you doing all right? How are classes? that sort of thing. And it always stuck out to me that, you know, Coach Shafer, he cared so much about football and our team, and that was evident in his passion and just his fiery attitude. But he also cared so much about each and every one of us. And that's a very special thing to find in a head coach, especially at this level. And I think that's what kind of follows him, and that's why, you know, he's such a good coach and such a respected coach in the industry.
Yeah, you know, and I would tend to agree, and I think it's funny that that's what you decided to say about him, because he would do that before every press conference. Almost every press conference, he would look at me, and there could be 30 of us in there, 40 of us in there, 10 of us in there, and right before we started, he'd go, "Hey, Danny, how you doing?" And my cousin one time picked it up. He goes, because there was a spring game and they were carrying the live feed, and you could see like an aerial shot of you know, like 30 camera people, all the stuff, whatever. And so I was standing all the way I was on his left, but I was like right next to him. And right before it started, I guess they had started recording it. And he's like, I heard him say it. He like looked over, and I remember he kind of just shot me a look, and he went, "Hey, Danny," and then we got started. So, you know, I mean, he really was one of those people that if he liked you and he cared about you, he let you know.
Exactly, and that's really all you can ask for. And you know, it's such a unique time in, you know, my life as a college student, but you know, all my teammates' lives, and to have someone like that who really cares about you and is also coaching you, it just makes the experience, you know, all the more better.
And did you feel like, before we start talking about the current team here with Sam Rodgers, did you feel like Scott was respected by the team? I mean, did you get a sense that, I mean, obviously I know how much he cared, but do you feel like, I mean, you had a good experience with him, I had a good experience with him. Do you feel that was there because obviously, like you said, you want to win and you know, you want there to be that progress and whatnot, but was there a sense that people respected him?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it started with, you know, the older guys on the team knew him as a defensive coordinator and had that relationship with him. And so when he became the head coach, that just kind of carried over, that, you know, we knew what he was going to bring every day and the enthusiasm and the attitude that he was going to have. And we all looked up to him and respected him a lot.
That coming here from Sam Rodgers. And Sam, to take a look at the 2019 team before we speak on you running for New York Senate. We're here this morning inside of the Charney's Men's Wear and Tuxedo Studios, 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. And, of course, we're speaking here with Sam Rodgers about football, about obviously his time with the Orange, with Doug Marrone and Scott Shafer, the current team, and also running for Senate. What can you say about the current team and, you know, being in the community? I mean, obviously you can see this firsthand. So, you know, are you constantly bringing yourself over to the Dome? I mean, they had a 3-game home stint here early on in the season. What can you say about this year with the team, and how involved do you try to be?
Sure, yeah. So this year actually is my first year, with the exception of Antoine Cordy. So Antoine Cordy, you know, got his 6th year, which kind of messed up my little spiel. But this is other than him, yeah. I haven't played with anybody on the team. And so what is kind of funny about that situation is it really allows me to just be a fan.
Yeah.
And I am loving that part of being a Syracuse football fan, because beforehand, you know, I knew guys on the team. When things happened, I'd text them after the game, maybe, "Hey, what's going on here? How you doing?" That, and I knew kind of the inside aspects. But now I really don't, and I can just go to the Dome and cheer and clap and be happy, and it's a lot of fun this year, just being a fan and kind of being with the community and supporting this team. And obviously, there's a ton of things to be excited about, you know, still 3/4 of the season to play, and you know, this 3-game home stretch was awesome. I went to the games, and I just love going to the Dome and cheering on the team, especially from the fan side now.
And the Dino Babers side of things, you had 2 different coaches, but now there's yet another one that over these past few seasons as he steps into year number 4 this season and is currently 3-2. What are your thoughts on Dino Babers? I know he wasn't your head coach, but you are in this community, and just what your takeaway's been.
Sure, yeah, I love Coach Babers. I think what he's done with the teams, and last year especially, was amazing and great for the community. And also, talking about respecting the coach, from what I see, and of course, I'm not in the room, but it just seems like the guys really look to him, and he's got that team, listening to him and kind of bought into what he's doing. And I think that's cool to see from the side, and I think he's done some great things for the team. And like a lot of people, I'm hopeful that he'll stick around for a long time.
Absolutely, and I do want to get to the current long snapper on the team. Aaron Belinsky had to step up last year and step in for Matt Keller going down. So in all honesty, let's start with Matt Keller. What did you take away from Matt's time there? I know that he obviously cared a lot, and then we'll get into Aaron. But Matt's career had to, unfortunately, it ended in a way that you don't want to see end, which is with injury. What did you take away from Matt Keller?
Matt is a really good friend of mine, and I enjoyed watching his career and kind of coaching him through some things and talking to him about, different things while he was playing. And I think he had a great career. He stepped in kind of like I did as a freshman and just was thrown right into it, and played really well for 4 years. And he got, broke his collarbone at the Clemson game last year, which was, it's kind of, like you said, it's heartbreaking for a senior, a guy like that, to get hurt. But what was cool for Matt is he got to come back and he played in the bowl game. So he got that bowl game experience, which he had worked so hard for, like a lot of the guys his age, that first bowl game, which is such a special time. And, Matt's a great snapper, and he's continuing to do well now, and he had a great career at Syracuse.
Absolutely. And on the other side of it, I should say, in the continuation of the long snappers at Syracuse, the guy that stepped in for him, Aaron Belinsky. Aaron Belinsky recently here in the last game had a big-time moment. A special teams unit for the second week in a row forced a fumble on an opponent's punt return attempt. They did it against Western Michigan when running back Abdul Adams forced it. In this most recent game against Holy Cross, where Syracuse won 41-3, the person that did it was sophomore long snapper Aaron Belinsky, forced the fumble by senior punt returner John Roberts, and Tyrell Richards would recover the ball for Syracuse, and then it took one play right after that for Tommy DeVito to step back and find Tristan Jackson for a 17-yard touchdown. So Aaron, as a long snapper, you don't hear about this, again, enough, and you don't hear about this a lot, to be the long snapper, to set up that punt and then run down the field and be the guy that forces the fumble. I mean, not only did he do two great things on this play, but he had to haul some tail to, be able to snap that ball and then get down there and do what he had to do. Just what you could say about a play like that for a long snapper to hike the ball, set up the punt, make sure everything works out in that respect, and then run down there and force the fumble on the punt return.
Yeah, that's right. It was an amazing play by Aaron, and one that he'll remember for a very long time. Getting in there, forcing the fumble, and then again, what's really cool about it is, like you said, the play right after, he kind of set up that touchdown. Yeah. And as we kind of talked about at the top of the hour, long snappers, you're not mentioned much, but when you are for something good like that, it's such a special moment. And actually, my sophomore year, I forced a fumble at Temple. And it's funny because coaches and players that I played with will still come up to me, and that's what they'll talk about because that's what they remember. Yeah. And so Aaron kind of has this this moment in the Holy Cross game that he'll remember, and the teammates will remember, and it'll just be a really great thing. And the forcing the fumbles and that's not really what you expect from your long snapper. When you get that, it's such a special moment. But what Aaron has been able to do as a snapper, especially a young guy, and like you said, stepping in the middle of the year last year, and then continuing on as the starter this year, Syracuse has a really good special teams unit, and that it takes a good snapper to allow those guys to shine. And Aaron's just doing a great job picking up where Matt left off and allowing, Sterling and Andre to really demonstrate their skills and be as good as they are.
Yeah, and it's been tremendous, and you did it. So you got, like I said, you got a haul to get, to snap that ball and get down the field and to go after it like that. I mean, you've done it. Now Aaron's done it. Bring me into, that experience for you. And I mean, because to me, I mean, it's like, you got to set up, you got to do your job. You got to make sure that you snap that ball correctly, put the punter in a good position, and then you got to run through, break through, all of their defense, and then be able to get to the player and force that fumble. It's not an easy play that you and Aaron accomplished.
Right, and again, that's why it doesn't happen very often. But they say, the most important thing you're going to do as a long snapper is getting the ball to the punter, and then if you have a blocking assignment, taking care of that. So you got to do that right off the bat, and then you do, running down the field. And I'll tell you, I found out very quickly in college football, when you're running down the field, it feels like everything's moving in fast forward. These guys on the punt return unit they are just tremendous athletes. And, I came to Syracuse to long snap, and I had a great high school athletic career and all that, but the guys on the field that are, the defensive backs and the linebackers, they are just tremendous athletes and a lot faster than I ever was. So it's tough to make plays like that, and you just got to watch the film, prepare the week before, and hopefully you end up in the right position where you can make a play like that. And a lot of it, again, goes back to the punter hanging the ball up in the air and giving you the time that as snappers we need to kind of get down there and get involved in the play.
Absolutely, and Sterling Hoffrichter has been tremendous, and there's been so many great punters that have come through Syracuse history. So kind of in closing with the football side of things, just what you could say about you being on the staff that you were on, being in the group that you were in, and just what you can say about the kickers and the punters that you had the experience with at Syracuse, because there's been some tremendous athletes that have gone through on special teams as of late.
Yeah, sure. And I'll start off by saying I am just having so much fun watching the specialists this year. And I am a huge proponent for, I believe Syracuse has the best punter and the best kicker in the country on the same team. And that is such an advantage in college football because the variety you get from specialists is so wide compared to the NFL, where the statistics are much more narrow in the NFL. In college, you get kickers and punters spraying the ball all over the place. So when you can count on guys like Sterling and Andre to just consistently get the job done like they do is such an advantage. And even last week, we saw Sterling walk onto the field and drill a 52-yard field goal, which in itself is just amazing. The talent that those guys have is incredible. And like you said, I got to play with also very talented specialists. And to start off, with the punters, I never got to play with Rob Long, but I have became a very, very good friend of his and trained with him as he was training in the NFL, and just a fantastic punter. And then also, I played most of my career with Riley Dixon. Again, he's going on his fourth year now in the NFL. Amazing punter. I trained with him before the draft, and just what he was able to do at Syracuse is amazing. And now I'm in the stands watching Sterling, and he is just as good and just as consistent as these guys. And if he keeps it up and keeps working as he has, and I know he will, he's going to have a very, very bright future that could very possibly and likely extend beyond Syracuse. And then also, I got to work with Ross Krautman, Cole Murphy, even Ryan Norton, all great kickers with good legs. And again, what Andre's doing and the consistency he's bringing. He's a young guy. He's still just a sophomore, and he's got a lot of time to continue to develop that consistency. And I would expect a great career for him at Syracuse. And again, he could be extending that career beyond Syracuse.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you bring up, that side of it for special teams because, like we talked about before, it becomes a thankless job. But, Andre Schmidt, for the first time ever, with all the good kickers that have come through the history of Syracuse, he is the first ever kicker at Syracuse to take home the nation's top kicker award, and with the Lou Groza award. And that's obviously something huge for him. And then Sterling for what Sterling's done. And to be able to have the boot that he has to make that 52-yarder in the most recent game because he came in as a kicker punter, and when they need him for that, he's got it. And Coach, after the game, I do want to make a quick note that Dino Babers said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that Sterling Hofrichter has the best leg on the team, and Andre Schmidt has by far the most. He's like the most accurate kicker that Dino's ever seen in his life. So it does say something that Syracuse has this expertise on the team, and I'm happy we get to talk about it this morning because it goes again unnoticed. If you make the field goal, then everybody cheers and we go to commercial break. But it's so much more than that.
Sure, no doubt. And the good thing for Sterling too is, now scouts know he can go out there and hit a 50-yard field goal. And if he is going to try and extend his career into the NFL, he'll be a punter. But that's kind of a plus in the column because, NFL teams can only carry so many guys on their roster that they only have one kicker. And it doesn't happen often, but if that kicker gets hurt in a game, the punter's the next guy up.
Yeah. So
if you have a punter that can hit field goals too, that's not going to be a deciding factor, but it's going to make a guy much more attractive.
Absolutely. That coming from Sam Rodgers here this morning, former Syracuse long snapper, always a part of the Brotherhood of Syracuse, as we speak inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. The final piece this morning that I wanted to get to with Sam Rodgers is the fact that you're running for New York Senate, and just the importance of this for you. I mean, we always talk about life after football. It's an important piece on the show, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, to let these young men know that, there is life after football and you do have to set up your future while you're living your present. Just what you could say about what made you interested in this opportunity, interested in politics, and, what kind of got you started here as we get to where we are right now with you running for Senate?
Yeah, well, I'd say I think, thinking about life after football, one of the great things that these guys should be thinking about, and, athletes across the board, is what they're doing is preparing them for life after football and is preparing them for, the professional world. Because I think, football is a fiction for life. And it might be one of the closest simulations that you could possibly come up with, because it's manufactured adversity. Through a football season and through games, you're constantly going through the ups and downs and learning how to fight through it, learning how to battle, learning how to do it with the team. And for the guys playing now, or the guys and girls that are all student athletes, it's going to set them up so much for the rest of their lives. And I tell a story when I was interviewing for law firms in New York City as a law student. They didn't want to talk about the law. They wanted to talk about my experience, as a Syracuse football player, as a Syracuse football captain, because those qualities and the disciplines that it take, the professional world understands that, and they're attracted to it. So to all the athletes out there that are kind of going through the grind, you're really setting yourself up to be a very, very attractive commodity in the professional world. And so where I kind of got to where I am now is I was working an internship in a New York City law firm. And it was a great firm. It was great people, complex problems, really smart people I was working with. And it's kind of where at Cornell Law School you're funneled to these big law firms that pay you a lot of money, and you work a ton of hours, and it's just kind of that big law life. And I clearly figured out that it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do, I learned, is what I learned I loved doing when I was playing football for Syracuse. And that was being involved in the community. That was going into the schools in the Syracuse school district and talking to the kids, or going to open gyms in Cazenovia and playing with the kids, and just being inspiring and being encouraging to the youth of the community. Or getting my teammates rallied and excited about a brain cancer fundraiser we were going to do because the community cares what we have to say, and we should leverage that opportunity to inspire other people to get involved. And that was also just seeing the fan base and the community look to us as athletes and care what we had to say. And so I was kind of sitting there in my office in New York thinking, that's what I want to do. And after talking to my wife, who works for Syracuse University, we were just so excited to stay in Syracuse. For a little bit, it was, maybe we'll go to New York City, maybe we go somewhere else. But for both of us, it was just such a great realization and such a great time to come to the position where we're going to stay here because we love this community, we believe in it, and we believe that it's a great place to live, and we want to inspire and encourage other people to think the same way. And so when I got back and decided we're going to stay, it was, I want to find a position where I can be that person in the community and really be just a light to other people that might need some inspiration.
And having that, you came back to this community to do it. Why Syracuse? Why here? I mean, I know you played your football here, but why Central New York? You said that you believe that you can help young professionals stay in Central New York after college. You want to build up this community. You want to help this community. Why us? Why are we so important to you?
Well, sure. And I'd say, I came back in a sense, but I never left. My wife and I, we had our house in Syracuse, and while I was in New York, we were doing some traveling back and forth. And even when I was at law school at Cornell, I'd drive down to Utica and come back for class. But like what she said, we just, we met at Syracuse. My wife, Jenna, was a 4-year player on the soccer team, a 2-year captain. And, we met at Manley Fieldhouse, and we just together loved this area. And, kind of looking at it more from a political sense, is there's so much untapped potential here. And I think there's so much room for growth, and we're heading in the right direction. And I'm excited for the opportunity to be a part of that continuing process.
And, for the growth for Syracuse, what do you see for Central New York? What do you see for Syracuse? I mean, what can we be? I guess the two-part is, are we growing in your opinion? And then secondly, what can we become? Sure.
I mean, are we growing there's a few interesting aspects to that. There's a lot to say for a declining population in upstate New York. I think that is something that should be kind of a red flag that we think about, to where, people are leaving. And the question is, why is that happening? And that's part of the fun problem that I'll get to think about and add to the solution kind of as, I progress through this campaign and eventually what comes next. But I think we're moving in the right direction. I think even if you think of the downtown area in the last 5 years, I think some cool things have happened, and I think it's going to take good leadership and people that hold groups accountable for the things that they say they're going to develop and everything that's going to happen. But I say there's so much untapped potential because if you look at the area, it's just such a central place. And if you think of, the Interstate 81 that comes up to Syracuse and 90 that cuts across the state and the country, there's just, it should be a vibrant community. And I think we're moving towards that, and we're starting to put the right people in place that are going to achieve that. And I think that it will be a very special place, even more special than it is already to live.
And that coming from Sam Rodgers. Sam, in closing, I definitely want to have you back on here and as you continue to run for New York Senate, to speak on your message and speak on what your hopes are, because you have such a unique perspective here and a unique connection to the community. But for you, I always think it's important, no matter what people are doing in their lives, I always say, why you? What's the mission statement for you as a human being? Why you? Why you for New York Senate? Why anybody for any job out there? In a relationship, there's millions and millions of people out there in this world, so why that girl? Why that guy? There's always that question of, what do you think of yourself? What makes you unique? What makes you special? And what that mission statement is. So I kind of want to open the floor for you to kind of make that whatever you want to make it, but to give you that opportunity this morning.
Sure. And I would say, you look at where we're at right now, politically, kind of as a culture, I think it's leadership. We need leaders. We need fresh young faces, new ideas, new leadership to really step up. And, it's kind of funny as I've talked to different people and gotten different advice. There's been some people that have kind of asked, why, you read the news, how kind of the political temperature is now. Why would you want to get into that? You have this job offer to go make a lot of money at this big law firm. Why not just do that? Because politically there's just no way you can make a difference. And I think that's the reason why I need to get into it, because I do believe that I can make a difference. And I believe I can make a difference, to you, to the next person, and to the district, and to the people that we come in contact with. I think we need leaders to step into this role. And I think for too long, qualified people have been deciding to do other things. And, I want to be part of that kind of movement as someone that I could go work in a law firm, but I feel that this is what I should be doing right now. And that's kind of where I'm at.
That coming from Sam Rodgers, running for New York Senate and spreading his message about Central and Upstate New York, how we can make it better, how we can make it home again to some people that may not feel that way. And like you said, why get involved in politics? And because I've thought about this stuff myself, and the question is always, why would you do that? Why would you put yourself out there, especially now? And the answer for that is because you care. And if people that care are going and doing other jobs and staying out of it, then you're kind of just leaving the world to the wolves, so to speak, as I say sometimes, because the people that care are the ones that should be representing the people, and they're not always doing that. So for you to want to do this and to spread your message and to be positive and to step outside of your comfort zone, I want to first and foremost thank you for that, and hopefully we can have you back here plenty of times to continue the conversation. But just thank you for going outside of yourself and thinking of other people, because the world needs that more than ever right now.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. I'd love to come on again. Thanks for having me. And like you said, just to close, I have a heart to serve, and I want to continue doing that. I think as a member of the football team, that was kind of shown to the community, and if given the chance, I'm going to keep that goal and keep showing the people of this community that I'm just here to serve, and would love the opportunity, and I'm excited for the process. So thanks again for having me. Really, real pleasure.
Oh, absolutely, and God bless, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, have a good one. Thanks,
Take
Dan.
care.